Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie and today we have a little holiday book haul. And when I say a little, I mean just a bit out of control. Yes, I have been away for the past couple weeks, wrapping up all of the holiday stuff. Got to visit my family, which was really nice. But that means I've been away from Booktube. And I have accumulated quite a bit of books over the course of the holiday season. It always seems to turn out that way. Like in the first half of the year, I do really well. And then right around like end of summer into fall, I start slipping. All of the scary horror fall reads start coming out, and those just like get me in a chokehold so bad. I want them all. And then in the end of the year, there's a couple sales I always go to. There's the Atlanta Indie Bookshop Crawl, there's Black Friday, and then there is the Barnes & Noble half-price hardback sale, which happens just after Christmas. So now that we are past that point, I can definitively say these are the last of the books that I will be getting for 2023. And then I'm gonna have to do some sort of challenge or put some parameters on myself next year so that I will not buy new books until I get through a certain percentage of my current TBR, my current physical TBR. I don't know what that's going to be, but I will try my absolute best. But I do have a couple categories that some of these books are going to fall into for this book haul, so let's just jump right in and see what we've got. Starting off with some Black Friday finds. I just went ahead and ordered these on Black Friday as they were kind of an impulse buy, but the thing was that they were all things that I had either been looking for or I had had my eye on for over a year, and the fact that these books still really called out to me, I was like, it's fine, I'll just get it. So these are a little treat to myself. I have these three. I've talked about all of these in a previous video, so I won't go too far in depth, but I have This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno, which is a grief literary horror story, and I believe it also has some element of technology, like haunted AI maybe, I don't really know, but I'm so intrigued by everything about this. I have Trust by Hernan Diaz, which was the Pulitzer Prize winning book of 2022, I believe, and it takes place in the 1920s. I think it has to do with the stock market, and once again, it's just been catching my attention, and I've wanted to read it ever since I first saw it. And then Nestlings by Nat Cassidy, which I actually meant to read over this Christmas break, but I just am barely not going to get to it. I did read some other things that are on this list, but yes, this will be one of, if not the absolute first things that I read in the new year. Okay, so these are all books that you've seen. Let's get into some of the either Christmas gifts or other ways I've collected these over this holiday season. Starting off with, actually this one I showed you as well, a gift from a friend of mine. That is Last Night in Montreal by Emily St. John Mandel, one of, if not my absolute favorite authors of all time, and I am happy to say that I just finished this, like seconds ago. So yeah, I'm very, very happy because it's funny because the books that I've gotten from my book club book exchange, it's been on year 3 and I haven't read either of the other ones, but this one I picked up immediately. I read it in basically one day because I read it on my long plane trip from my family's house. So I read this in essentially one sitting, and I will give you my full review of it in my December wrap up. So you'll just have to wait or follow me on Instagram where you get my live reading reviews as soon as I finish the book. Okay. A couple more, I would say gifts, but they're kind of not really one of them is a gift. One of them is gifts. Okay, I just received my booktube friend Caitlin Bandy from Bandy's Books was kind enough to send me this book. This is, I believe it's pronounced Brujas. I think it's Haas because the author is Colombian, born in Miami, and I believe it's Spanish, so I think it's Brujas. The Magic and Power of Witches of Color. Thank you, Caitlin, so much for sending this to me. This is a witchcraft book. I'm really not sure. I don't know much about it. I've never heard of these kind of witches, but this was inspired by earlier this year. I made a witchy video and I read some real life witchcraft books, and I also picked up another nonfiction modern witchcraft book in my Atlanta Indie Bookshop Crawl, so it seems to be a theme, and I'm very interested about this. I have no idea what this is. It says there's a new kind of witch emerging in our cultural consciousness, the Bruja. So we'll see what this is about. And while I was at my family's house for the holidays, I decided to peruse my grandmother's bookshelves, and she basically said, if you see anything here, you want it. So I grabbed a couple things. One of them is very funny because I gifted this to her last year, so now we're kind of on this concept of like, okay, I will gift her a book, and then next year after she's read it, when I go back for Christmas, I will pick it back up from her, and that is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I'm so excited to finally get into this series. I think I tried it at one point, but my library hold let up or something. I don't know what the issue was, but I am excited to try this again. This is going to be on my most anticipated reads of 2024. And then this one was kind of just a random find, but I found it on her bookshelf and it was in great condition. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of interested. That's Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult and Jennifer Finney Boylan. Okay, so Jodi Picoult. I've read one book by Jodi Picoult, and I read it back when I was in middle school. That's My Sister's Keeper, very, well-known book. And honestly, I loved it. I really loved it so much. Even as a middle schooler, early high schooler, I thought it was phenomenal. I don't know how Jodi Picoult would hold up for me now, but I've had both my grandmother really liked this, and I don't know, not to say that our reading tastes are similar, but she wanted me to read this, and I also had another friend who really wanted me to read it as well. So yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot. I don't know when I'll read this, but I will give it a shot maybe. Okay, moving on to a couple more random selections that I picked up. First off, my last book of the month box. So December 2023 was my final book of the month, because for 2023 I tried book of the month and I had a pretty good time with it. But in 2024, I am actually trying Aardvark Book Club, which I did not realize, but the year subscription is actually 3 books per month instead of just 1, which is a little crazy. I don't know how I'm going to be able to read that many books. That sounds absolutely insane, but I've already paid for it, so here we go. But I did have a couple of credits left for book of the month, so I went ahead and picked up one of their December selections, which was Tomb Sweeping by Alexandra Chang. This is a short story collection, and I don't know too much about this, but it says it's compelling and perceptive. Tomb Sweeping probes the loyalties we hold to ourselves, strangers, and to relatives in stories set across the US and Asia. It features lives of immigrant families, grocery store employees, expecting parents, and guileless lab assistants. And I don't really know much about it, but it did just intrigue me when I heard about it, when I saw it featured in Book of the Month, and I'm kind of curious. I like stories that are kind of smaller, intimate, and this seems like just something that could really be up my alley. And then I also did, I just had some extra credits, so I just went through their backlog and grabbed something that called out to me, and that is A History of Wild Places by Shea Earnshaw. And this is a book from several years ago at this point, I think. Oh, no. Yeah, December 2021. And I've heard several people talk about this on BookTube. I don't know if there's like a general consensus whether people liked it or not, but I'm fascinated by the concept. I believe that there is a reporter who goes to a small town where somebody has gone missing, and he's trying to piece together what happened and the history of this place. And apparently there is some sketchy stuff going down in this town. I'm just fascinated. It sounds like a very fun atmosphere, and I love this cover. It's so fun. We'll see. I hope I really love it. We'll see. And then a completely impulse buy, but when I was at the airport going to see my family for Christmas, I saw that this book was 40% off, and I know it's like a brand new book, so I was like, what is that? Let me see. It's especially impulse because I don't really buy a lot of nonfiction, but that is Airplane Mode, An Irreverent History of Travel by Shanaz Habib. This is a travelogue, personal essay, memoir collection, but it specifically focuses on travel. It says this witty personal and cultural history of travel from the perspective of a third world raised woman of color asks, what does it mean to be a joyous traveler when we live in the ruins of colonialism, capitalism, and climate change? And that all fascinates me because I really do love to travel. I do a lot of traveling, and I will be traveling a lot in 2024. And I just think it's important to be conscious of these issues, and it's something I really want to educate myself about in the future, and this just seemed like a great way to do it. I know this book like just came out, so I haven't really seen any reviews for it, but this immediately grabbed my attention, and it was 40% off, so I was like, yes, give that to me, please. That being said, I do struggle to pick up my nonfiction, and I have only a handful on my shelves. Well, now actually I have this one as well. But yeah, I pick them up, like they sound interesting to me, and then I just never get around to reading them. So I think in 2024, I will have to do some sort of challenge like where I did with The Walking Dead, and read like one a quarter or something, or, you know, do something to get through these nonfiction books. And I do want to read this very soon because I will be going to Hawaii in 2024, and this just seems like a very important thing to understand when going to a place like Hawaii, which obviously has been completely changed by colonialism. Okay, the next stack. So recently I did a book unhaul, and I didn't really post about it because truly I actually just went through my TBR and just was kind of cleaning it out and just being like, let's be honest with ourselves, like what on this shelf just does not interest me anymore, and like we got to get rid of some of this stuff. And I'm trying to make a plan of how I'm going to tackle my physical TBR in 2024. And one of the first things was just like, let's just be honest. We're not going to read these books. We're not going to pick them up. So I cleaned out that shelf. And then plus I had a couple that I had read, and I've said this before on my channel, but if you're new here or you just haven't heard this yet before, I really don't keep books unless they are basically above a 3.5 for me, or I have a very specific reason like why I might recommend them to someone. If I just did not love it, I will not keep it. So everything that's left on my shelf, I really enjoyed or have some strong reason for keeping. And that doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case. Like maybe there's a book that I felt kind of lukewarm about, and I'm like, but I like it enough to keep it now. And then a year down the line, I'm like, nope, I have not thought about that book since I read it, and I will unhaul it. So I do a lot of unhauling. I'm clearing my shelves constantly. I do not like negative energy on my shelf. That all sounds so dramatic, but the point is that I was doing just a routine unhaul, just getting stuff off of my TBR shelf that I wasn't going to touch ever. And we went to half price books, and that is dangerous because when I go into half price books, especially I had all these books I was getting a credit for, got dangerous. And I decided to do something crazy. I did something really crazy. And I bought basically the entire Catriona Ward collection. Do not ask me what came over me. I just needed it. I needed it so much. Well, the good news is that I've already read Looking Glass Sound, and I enjoyed this so much. And it's been a book that ever since I read it, I've just been continuing to think about, and I love this cover so much. I love it so much. And I was just like, I need to own that book. I really do. So I went looking for it, and then I just decided, well, I have to have them all. So I've already read this one, but now I have it in my collection. And let's talk about some of the other Catriona Ward books. So her most well-known and probably her most beloved is The Last House on Needless Street, and tragically this is the only one that wasn't hardcover, but I don't know, maybe if this ends up being like a perfect 5-star read, like if I love it so much, maybe I will go and like seek out a hardcover version of it, but you know, we'll see. Don't know about this one. I really don't know a lot about any of these, to be fair. I just know that I was so blown away by Catriona Ward's writing and her inventiveness, and this really worked for me in just the most unexpected way that I'm kind of just like, yeah, give me everything she's got. I want to see what else she can do. This, I believe, is just about a family that's in this house, and there's just a little something off about them. Like there's just something not right about this family. And I don't really need to know anything else. I trust, at this point, from that one book, I now trust everything that Catriona Ward has ever done, and people seem to really like this. So, Last House on Needless Street. The next two are Sundial and Little Eve, and let me just say, I had never heard of Little Eve at all. I'd never heard of it, but my goodness, this cover is perfection. I think of all of these, this one maybe is my favorite cover. Yeah, but Looking Glass Sound also has a really great cover. Okay, Little Eve is set in Scotland, and I believe it is, yeah, like a suicide murder cult. I don't know. It's set in Scotland, and this cover is beautiful. I heard some mixed reviews on this one, but based on my personal experience with Catriona Ward, I'm willing to just give it a try because I would probably love it. And then Sundial. I have absolutely no idea what this is about. Like, literally zero idea. I don't even think I've opened the dust jacket. I don't care. It takes place in the Mojave Desert. And once again, at this point, I am trusting Catriona Ward with my life, with my reading life. I don't know what order I'm going to read these in. I just think they're so stunning. I really wish Last House on Needless Street was hardback because they are really, really stunning. But these just make me so happy. Even though I've only read one, Catriona Ward, I'm hoping that once I read these, like, I'm hoping she will become a new favorite author. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot about this one. I almost forgot about it because I already read it. While I was at Half Price Books, while I was raving about the Catriona Ward books, I also stumbled across The Christmas Guest by Peter Swanson. This is a teeny tiny Christmas novella, and the cover is just so fabulous. And normally I really would not have picked this up, but it was at Half Price Books. It was a very reasonable price. I love the cover, and it is set in an English manor house. It's a murder in an English manor house. At Christmas, like, all the things were just coming together for a perfect experience. So I picked it up, and then I read it immediately. It's super short. It's like 80 pages. It's barely even counting as a novella. You could just call it a short story. But man, was I surprised by this. Like, I really had no expectations for this at all. I've never read a Peter Swanson. And yeah, I just really didn't think it was going to be, I just thought it was going to be fine. I thought it was going to be fine. I was hoping it was going to do the basic things I need to do, but it goes the extra mile. It really does. In a very short amount of time, it really goes to a place that I was not expecting. And it's quite a bit darker. Like, you look at this cover and you think like it might be like kind of cozy, and it's not cozy. It's really not. It goes to a darker place. And I was just surprised with how much this worked for me. So I'm happy that I own a copy now, actually, because I don't have that many books on my shelf that are kind of winter Christmas themed. And I'm not a kind of person, I don't read the seasonal stuff really. Like, I don't do romance, so I don't do the holiday romance. Even like Christmas murder mysteries often don't really do anything for me. I just love this one because of the cover, and it was so short. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And yeah, this worked for me. And finally, it's time to reveal this massive stack of books that I got at the Barnes & Noble. It was the half-price hardback sale. It's no longer the half-price hardback sale, but nonetheless, the Barnes & Noble end-of-year sale. Okay, the first book that I picked up at the Barnes & Noble sale is a little bit of an unusual pick for me. Or at least I was kind of intimidated by this, but there's a reason. This is Wellness by Nathan Hill, and this thing, it doesn't really look like it on camera, but like, this thing is heavy. Like, it is thick. This thing comes in at 600 pages. 600 pages. And you know me, you know I don't like long books. That basically instantly put me off from this book. But then I saw that Roro Reads posted his review of Wellness, and he loved it so much. Like, he was just raving about it, absolutely raving. And I just became so interested in this book because of what he was saying about it. He said this is about a marriage, but it really analyzes and critiques a lot of kind of modern elements of our culture, including social media and the intentional divide that it creates amongst people, and kind of this like echo chamber effect and how it warps people's brains. It talks about the health and wellness industries and how we are basically just being sold lies. And he also mentioned that it was really funny and it was just constantly engaging. And his review just really hooked me. I was like, I have to know what that's about. And Nathan Hill has, been around for a while in the literary fiction space. I've just been very intimidated. I think because his covers they're not my vibe. They don't really grab me personally. And I've just been so intimidated by how long they are. But here you go, I'm gonna try this, and honestly, I'm excited about it. That review made me excited to read it, and I hope that this will be one of the first things that I read in early 2024. Next up, a book that will not stop evading me, and alright, fine, I finally did it. I bought The Vaster Wilds by Lauren Groff. Wow. This could also be surprising to you if you've heard me talk about her other book, Fates and Furies, which I didn't really care for. I mean, I guess it was fine, but I really didn't care for it. And I was kind of telling myself I might not try to read another Lauren Groff, but this one really interests me. And actually, it was already my plan to read another Lauren Groff book for a vlog that I'm actually currently working on right now. And once I get through just one more book, one by Lauren Groff, I will have it posted. But I was in between this one and another one that I own called Matrix. And to be honest, this one just really intrigued me. This is a survival story about an enslaved girl a servant girl escapes from a colonial settlement into the night. And it is a completely it's a very grounded survival story, which are my favorite kinds. I love survival stories that really rely on the wit and instinct and just being able to literally survive in the wild. And what I mean by that is that some survival stories are more like you're surviving a paranormal thing, or you are escaping from someone, and those are not my favorite. I like more true survivalist stories, and that's exactly what this is. And it's nice and short and sweet. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I love this cover so much. It has absolutely sunk its teeth into my brain ever since I first saw it. So went ahead and bit the bullet and bought this book, and I will be reading this one instead of Matrix for my vlog because this one is it seems more interesting to me, and I've also heard amazing reviews. Next up, a book that continues to get better and better reviews the more I hear about it. That's The Reformatory by Tiana Reeve Dew. This is a historical social horror novel about a school in the deep south in I don't know what century it is. It's I think it's in the 60s, around there. Maybe it could be earlier than that, I'm not sure. But it's a school for basically parents send their children there if they are acting out and they need to be corrected. So this young boy gets sent to this school, the Reformatory, and this is a horror novel, and it does have some paranormal elements, but it's really rooted in a true story, something that actually happened. I don't know anything about the case, or I don't know if it was a case. I don't know if case is the right word, but I don't know anything about the history of the situation. But what I do know is that this has been getting outstanding reviews, and it's supposed to be very powerful, emotional, and just something that really calls to me this combination of literary, social, and this true real life event coming together with these horror paranormal aspects. Sounds like the perfect recipe for something that I would love. And then, even though it was the hardback sale and I probably should not have bought anything that wasn't hardback, I just simply have no willpower and I have no control. And so I bought 3 paperbacks. Oh my gosh. Okay. The first one is a book that I will be reading for an upcoming vlog in sometime in January, maybe early February, depends on how long it takes me to read the books. That is Near the Bone by Christina Henry. I've heard so many people love this book. This is an isolated winter thriller. Adore the cover. I'm so interested in isolated winter books, a very secluded setting. There's no help except for the person's wits, once again, kind of going into that survival story element. And I believe this is just about a woman who is in this cabin, and then she comes face to face with a killer or something. I honestly, I don't know anything about this book other than it is an isolated winter thriller horror, and everyone seems to love it. So I am so excited because I don't have anything like this on my current library. I don't have any winter focused books. So I hope that this is the big win that I've been wanting. And then 2 books I really just could not resist. The first one is Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery by Brahm. Pretty much anyone who's ever read this has given this an overwhelming 5 stars. It seems to be people's favorite witchy fall book, and I am so curious. I love the cover. I do wish that this would have been hardback because I wanted the hardback version, but Barnes & Noble didn't have it, so I had to get the paperback. But still, it's been a book I've been wanting to own, and it will be on my list of books. I might do a 24 in 24 video. I don't know. I'm so hesitant to say, oh, I'm going to read this book in 2024 because I don't want to be embarrassed at the end of 2024 when I didn't read any of the books. But this is high on my list for my fall reading in 2024. And lastly, the last book on this list, kind of an impulse buy, but also not really. That is Mary, An Awakening of Terror by Nat Cassidy. Of course, I already mentioned Nestlings by Nat Cassidy, and honestly, Nestlings is kind of the one that I'm more interested in. But I have just been told that Nat Cassidy is just no one's doing it like Nat Cassidy right now. And I've been so curious about Mary, and I just feel like, you know what? If I'm gonna have one, I might as well have 2. He's only written these 2 so far, and I have a feeling that I will love these books. So I just went ahead and just took a gamble, and we will try it out. Again, a book I'm very much looking forward to in 2024, but first I've got to read Nestlings. Nestlings is coming first. Nestlings is coming before all of these books. Oh, and I did say that was the last book, but I actually forgot. I did have Barnes & Noble order me Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Fawcett. What's her first name? Heather? By Heather Fawcett, yes. Okay, so they only had the Barnes & Noble edition of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and this is what the Barnes & Noble version looks like, which in my opinion is a big downgrade from the version that I wanted, which is this one. And I needed to get the hardcover in order for the deal to work out. So I needed the hardcover version. They didn't have it. They didn't have that edition. So I had to have them special order it for me, and they're sending it to my house. So that is also included in this book haul. So there you have it. Those are all the books that I have accumulated over this holiday season. And yeah, this is out of control at this point. Seriously, we need to get through some of these. I need to find a way to create some sort of challenge or, some system to get through these physical TBR books, because this is just the beginning of my physical TBR. But I am so excited about every single one of these. Let me know if there's any on this list that you have read and loved and that I need to prioritize, or, let me know what books you received this holiday season. And I hope you have the most wonderful rest of your day, week, month, year. I will see you back here next time. Thanks so much. Bye.